What is up, fight fans? Welcome back to Picking a Fight. I'm Latch.
I'm Jeff.
And today we're going to be looking at UFC 281 Adesanya versus Pereira. We're going to be looking at Dustin the Diamond Poirier versus Iron Michael Chandler. But before we get started, don't forget to like this video, subscribe if you haven't. We're putting out content every week and for every fight night and pay-per-view. So if you're looking for content like this, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss out. And yeah, let's get right into it. So we got number 2 ranked Dustin the Diamond Poirier. He's 28-7. He's 33 years old. He's 5'9" with a 73-inch reach. And his last fight was a loss to Charles Oliveira. And before that, were back-to-back wins over Conor McGregor. And he's going up against number 5 ranked Iron Michael Chandler, who's 23-7. He's 36 years old. He's 5'8" with a 71.5-inch reach. And his last two was a win over Tony Ferguson. And before that was a decision loss to Justin Gaethje. And Dustin Poirier is actually coming in as a minus 175 favorite, while Michael Chandler, as of recording this, is a plus 150 underdog. What you think, Jeff?
I think this is a very cool and exciting matchup that's coming up this weekend. I think Dustin Poirier has his last 3 fights, have been very interesting. He won the 2 against McGregor and he lost against Oliveira. I think it's a thing to note that his last fight was almost a year ago. I think he hasn't really been that active. I think most fighters, fight 2 times a year?
I think on average, like 2.
Yeah.
At least the high-level contenders tend to fight less, I feel. But to be fair, I mean, I feel like Poirier's been fighting like once a year for a while now.
Maybe that won't play a big part into this matchup. But I think Michael Chandler is definitely going to try to use the wrestling. I think he is very explosive. I think he probably could get a couple on Dustin. The thing is, I think Dustin Poirier's wrestling is pretty good too. I would say is not as good, and Michael Chandler is faster in the scrambles and everything. So I think that's not where that's not where Dustin Poirier wants to be. He doesn't want to be on the ground. Michael Chandler, although his last 2 fights were very exciting, I mean, I think he lacks where he doesn't have the advantage on the feet. I think Dustin Poirier is a much better boxer or striker. So I think Michael Chandler is going to struggle on the feet. I think Michael Chandler does. I don't know. I was going to say he has a power advantage, but I'm not too sure.
Man, I think it's super close. But honestly, I feel like with Chandler, it's more his speed than his power. But I don't know, bro. It's very close, I think. But I think Dustin hits a little harder, to be honest.
I think he looks bigger, too.
I think so.
He's taller and more. He's not more filled in, but he looks big. And I think what Michael Chandler's going to struggle with is closing the distance. I think part of the reason why he always gets clipped in his fights is because he gets caught coming out, Like he doesn't get out in time. So I think Dustin Poirier, with the power he has and the accuracy, I think he probably finishes Michael Chandler. I think he finishes him. He gets a TKO win. I'm not sure when, but yeah, I think he gets it. What you think?
Yeah, I mean, we know who Dustin Poirier is. He's a very, very tough southpaw boxer. He can get really scrappy. He throws some nasty combinations. Like you said, I think he has the better hands. I'm not sure if he has the power advantage, but he does have power regardless. He can hurt Chandler. We saw Chandler get hurt against another hard hitter in Justin Gaethje, who's very similar to Poirier. But the biggest question is, will Dustin be able to, stop the takedowns, right? Because I think if it stays on the feet solely, I think Dustin is really well at adjusting at his opponents, especially someone who brings a unique skill set like Michael Chandler. Like he brings a lot of power, but his striking tends to be not as clean, and he relies a lot on his speed and explosiveness to kind of close that distance. And I feel like Dustin is kind of used to that. Like he's good at making those reads. He has pretty decent defense. Like his striking defense is actually pretty good. And as much as I would love to see Dustin finish Michael Chandler, because I'm a huge Dustin Poirier fan, I'm going to be rooting for him this fight. I do think his wrestling is not as strong as maybe you think it is. I honestly, obviously he got dominated by Khabib, but that's different,
Yeah.
But Michael Chandler is a really good wrestler. He was a collegiate wrestler, a D1 wrestler, and he's very strong, The only thing is that he is, smaller. And, and yeah, that's going to be the biggest question. How much is Michael Chandler willing to wrestle, right? I think very early he will probably shoot because he did shoot on his previous opponents. He did shoot on Tony Ferguson and was successful. He shot on Justin Gaethje, wasn't as successful. He did get reversed. But that was Justin Gaethje, someone who was also a D1 collegiate wrestler, so who could match him in skill, while Dustin wasn't a college wrestler. He learned MMA wrestling. It doesn't have as much experience as these other guys. And he's a little older. His hips, he's had problems with his hips before. He had hip surgery. So I just don't know if he'll be able to keep up with the wrestling. But another thing is Michael Chandler tends to stray away from his wrestling. In the Justin Gaethje fight, I felt like maybe if he would have pushed it a little more before he got tired and concussed, I think he would have had a little bit more success down the line. But he kind of just threw it out the window once Justin offered some resistance. Tony, obviously that he took him down successfully, and then he didn't have to because he knocked him out. But I can't be 100% sure that Chandler's gonna wrestle this guy, bro.
Yeah.
But I think if he doesn't, I think he leaves a lot on the table, and I think he leaves his fight to Poirier to take. Because Poirier is the better boxer for sure. He doesn't rely just like on 1-2 punches like Michael Chandler does. His combinations are set up, and he has a really good jab, like you said, to keep the range. So, but I have a feeling Michael Chandler is going to wrestle. I think he's going to get an early takedown, and he's going to see it as. No, actually, I changed my mind, bro. I think Dustin Poirier wins now. I convinced myself because I do see Michael Chandler taking him down, but this is 3 rounds though.
Oh, yeah.
Never mind. I'm going to stick with Chandler. I think it's a little safer bet. Man, this is close, man. Like, it's very close, but I think I'm going to stick with Chandler by decision. I think he's going to mix up the wrestling pretty well this time, and I do think he will be able to take Dustin down and win by decision. I think he's going to eke out 2 of the rounds. I think it's going to be a very close fight. I really hope it's a very entertaining fight, which it'd be pretty sad if it isn't, to be honest with you. Yeah. All right, so I got Chandler, but sorry, you want to say?
I was just gonna say, it's very interesting. I think if you, I know you rewatched the Dustin Poirier versus Oliveira fight. Mm-hmm. Like Oliveira was pushing that pace, man.
Yeah.
And Dustin Poirier after round 1, that dude was tired. He was looking at the clock at like near the end of the round. So I think if Michael Chandler could push the pace too, which I know he can, then Dustin Poirier might be in trouble. If that does happen, I do see your outcome of Chandler winning by decision being more likely. Yeah, so I don't know. I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, but speaking on that, what's interesting about that is that that pressure that Charles applied to Dustin worked on Dustin, right? Mm-hmm. It was the pressure and the body work, and then that same pressure also worked on Justin Gaethje when Charles did it, right?
Oh yeah.
But that same pressure did not work when Michael Chandler did it on Justin Gaethje. Justin he proved to be too tough and too experienced. He had some turbulent times in that first round.
Yeah.
But he was able to really pull through, and he made Chandler pay a lot of times. He even dropped him later in the second. So it'd be interesting to see if Dustin because in my opinion, Dustin and Justin are like on very similar levels when it comes to their striking. I think Dustin's a little cleaner. We saw that in their fight, but when they fought each other. But so even if Chandler is able to push that pace, I'm not too confident that he'll be able to kind of like break him, just because these guys are experienced, and like Charles was able to eat whatever, which was, I don't know, he's just different.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he'll be able to. I don't know. It's interesting, man. We're gonna have a lot of questions answered this Saturday, but yeah. So I have Michael Chandler by decision. Jeff has Poirier by TKO. He thinks he's gonna get a finish. I think Chandler's gonna eke out a decision win. But let us know down below, what do you think? Do you think Michael Chandler gets this done? Do you think he wrestles a little bit? Or do you think he can take Dustin Poirier out on the feet? Or do you think Dustin is a little too experienced for Michael Chandler and just a level above? Let me know down below what you think. And yeah, go ahead and like this video. Subscribe if you haven't. Go check out our other videos. We're actually doing every other fight on this same card, including the co-main and the main. So go ahead and check those out. And yeah, it's going to be a great night of fights. Do not forget to tune in. I'll see you next week. But until then, take care.